Hello and welcome. Thanks for waiting. I had a little bit of trouble signing on. This is the first time I've actually done a real, uh, in real time live streaming. So, welcome. And I've also got a lot of stuff I want to share with you today. It looks like our chat uh, column is open. So, if any questions do come up as we're working through our session today, feel free to go ahead and use the chat and just write them in. I will do my best to get to them, but I also have a lot of stuff that I want to get to today. So this is a live introduction to my soul singing class, Soul Singing, the Voice of the Heart, which is going to be starting next week. Same time, same station. Actually, I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing it live on YouTube. I think that we're going to be doing it on GoToMeeting because I'm more familiar with that. But we may switch as we move through, depending on the sound quality of this, because partly since we're going to be doing a lot of toning, I want to get the best sound quality. So let's start by getting comfortable, whether you're watching this live with us today or watching the recording later. Remember that as we come together, you're tuning into what I call the increasing Shakti. Number one, that I've been working with during my spiritual journey, but also anyone else who is joining us, your own journey. We're bringing that together and allowing ourselves to feel the power of this time that we're living in. If you look around at the world, you see there's a lot of craziness out there. You call it craziness, uh, not in a bad way. Old structures are falling apart to make way for new stuff. I don't know if you saw my latest newsletter. If you're not on my newsletter list, please send me an email to carstenspencer@hotmail.com, or you can email me through my website, carstenspencer.com. Email is carstenspencer@hotmail.com, but you can reach me either way. And you can also reach me through the YouTube channel here. But if you want to be on my newsletter list, send me your email, and you will be able to connect that way. But I did in the latest newsletter, I had a really wonderful little picture of chrysalis, the the cocoon, the energy that allows the caterpillar to reform into the butterfly. And I feel that that's what's happening now. Let's look at the past 10,000 years, kind of our recorded history. Yes, we do go back further, and there's an awful lot of previous stuff that science knows about, but it doesn't fit into the official view of history. But my latest newsletters, I've talked about Atlantis, which is one of our previous existences, and we're really, as the spiral keeps moving and going up, it seems like we're repeating the same things, but we're always evolving. This is true with our individual lives as well as our, what I would call, our conscious evolution on this planet. And I don't just call it the human evolution anymore, because my realization is that we're evolving together with all life on the planet. We're connected to all life on the planet. And that's really what soul singing is about. This process, and I have to say, my work has just really been evolving, and we're in a real evolutionary thrust. And if you're tuned in, you're feeling the power of that. And I have to say, it doesn't always feel comfortable because we're being pushed out of our comfort zone purposely. It is that energy that is pushing through this cocoon of what I would call the collective consciousness, which has been so mentally focused in trying to figure out the world and ourselves. And in doing so, we've come to an awful lot of decisions that may have been helpful in the journey. As a matter of fact, I think they were very helpful in the journey because we separated from what I would call the God source and from nature itself, because we wanted to figure out what was going on here. And I would say we could relate it right back to the Bible story of the Garden of Eden and that evil woman Eve who said, yes, this is wonderful being in the Garden of Eden, never having to do anything, having everything be provided for us, and not really having to think or choose or be conscious co-creators. And so she said, I want the knowledge, I want the fruit of the tree of knowledge. And that tree of knowledge, according to different interpretations, was the knowledge of good and evil. I look at that as simply the knowledge of duality, the power of choice. Eve said, I want to participate in this evolving experience of consciousness, of life in a time and space format. And even as I say time and space, that's just part of what our mind began to conceptualize of what was happening here. It helped us be able to step back and say, how do I, what's going on here and how do I participate? That separation was helpful because it allowed this frontal lobe to grow, our intellect, our sense of self, what I would call our ego self, as separate from the world. But now what's happening is where we have the realization through our science, through our desire to know and to figure out what life was all about, what reality, what the physical world, what was at the source of it. And the quantum scientists now are telling us that the source of everything that seems solid is basically pure conscious energy. And so that's what we work with in soul singing, the voice of the heart. It's recognizing, tuning into that energetic aspect, that grander understanding of who we are. And I can get very spacey and very out there. So I want to kind of stick to my notes and what I've written here. Separation from source into time, space created the ego, intellect, mental body, conceptual. So what we're moving back into, or what I'm going to say, what we're moving forward into, is we're taking this large intellect, this frontal lobe that is able to conceive of the idea of God and wants to know about the universe and what it's all about. We're taking this and looking within, because that's how we can study out there. But since it's coming from in here, we're really learning to change our focus with our soul singing class. It's about tuning into the chakra system, the things that actually read the energy that's flowing not only to us, but from us. We can think of our chakra system in a sense, which includes the third eye, a very important center that we're going to be focusing on today, and we'll be focusing on through the soul singing class, because the third eye, our focusing element, is so important and powerful because we think very much of that third eye, that what I call the eye center. And it's not just the EYE eyes, it's the eye center. It's where we think of the self. We kind of think of the self as sitting behind the eyes, kind of looking out at the world. That actually is our third eye, our chakra. It connects with the seventh chakra as well, our crown chakra, which accesses the higher energies. But we're focusing on that focusing element because that's what's primary. That's where we think of ourself and what we're choosing to focus on. And focus is so important because as we learn to focus within and listen and move from the conceptual to the experiential. Concepts is what the thinking mind does. And so we've come up with a concept of what the world is, a concept of who we are, an idea, things that we can put into words. Remember that words are concepts. Thoughts are usually based on concepts. So it's the difference between the thinking mind and the experiencing mind. So that's what the soul singing, the voice of the heart, is all about. It's having a palpable experience. It's going beyond of who we think we are, who we've decided we are, and really opening up to the grander, what I would call the infinite, eternal aspect of who and what we are, which is really connected to everything in our life. When you look out at the world, recognize that that world is you. It's your projection of the world. It's your creation. And so during the soul singing class, these 7 weeks, we're going to be moving within, starting to get familiar, have an experience of these chakras, the energetic aspect of who and what we are. So just think about that for a minute. There's the conceptual, which is our idea, or what we could even call our understanding of who we are, what the world is about. And then there's the experience. The era that we're now entering into is what I would call the divine feminine. So if we think of the conceptual, it's the yang energy. It connects with the masculine, the doing, versus the experiential, which is the yin, the feminine, the energy of being. One of the reasons we resist the energy of just being is because we think that if we tune too much into that energy of just being, of trusting the moment rather than having to project and plan for the future, we think if we can just be in the moment, then we're going to be passive and we're not going to get anything done. When we remember, and let's do that, get comfortable right now, breathe into your center, and just allow yourself to breathe. Keep your eyes open. You want to stay present. And just feel the breath flowing in and out slowly. With your eyes open, become aware that you're breathing something. The eyes open doesn't see anything there. And that the nostrils can sense that there's something coming in. Now take another breath and hold it. You feel how that breath is alive? That breath is saying, let me go, because the body, this life force energy that's within the body says, no, we need to reconnect. Recognize that desire, after holding your breath, you feel that there's something in you that is pulling in this invisible substance, that is affirming that you're connected to all of it. And to recognize that the trees, the plants, all other life on the planet is also participating in this breath. The tides of the ocean are similarly breathing in response to the gravitational pull of the moon, which is all keeping the earth, Mother Earth, in this harmonious rhythm of moving energy that keeps life flowing. So we allow the intellect, the part that thinks it has to do it and it's separate from the outside world, we're allowing the intellect now to be in the experience of this flow, of this evolutionary thrust. We could call it life force. We could call it the divine flow of the universe, or we could call it the breath. So now with each breath, feel Mother Earth reaching up through your root chakra and drawing it in. Eyes still open. If your eyes have closed, I invite you to just open them so you can let what I would call what do we call this? Your connected self, the one that participates in the world, that's connected to your physical eyes, your physical ears, the senses that are connecting with the physical world. We want them to be present because we're also connecting to the inner senses as we focus on the breath and allow ourselves to be in the feeling sensation of being present. We invite the intellect in as well with the conceptual, because this is an important part of us, and that's what's happening through the soul singing class. That's why it takes 3 or 7 weeks. We can't just all do it in one day. We can't just do it all in 7 weeks either, but we can go deeper into it. But we're learning to connect our intellect, what we call our ego self, with the awareness of and the experience of the fuller and blossoming experience of being human. And so with that said, once again, focus on the breath and recognize this field that we live in. The quantum scientists are calling it the quantum field. We can think of it as a potent, fertile energy field that's waiting for consciousness to project its thoughts, its feelings, its beliefs, its understanding of what it's all about out onto it. So although the world out there can seem permanent, we know that it's constantly changing. That was one of the things that blew my mind as a child when, well, I guess the first real big thing was when the president was shot, President Kennedy. And I just suddenly had this realization that, oh, these big things don't just happen in the past. It's not just history. This stuff is happening now, because the only other real understanding I had about that was Abraham Lincoln. I knew he had been killed, and he was my favorite president at that point. And so I remember as a child, it was scary because I realized, oh, all the scary things that I've been learning about in the past, they can happen now. And so this is one of the reasons why we, what I would say, divorced ourselves from these lower chakras, the ones that know how to read the energy and that we used to be much more conscious of. We jumped up into our head to try to figure out life. And it's kind of what we're taught to do as children. We come in as these pure, feeling, energetically connected consciousnesses that are curious, that are open, that are non-judging. It's like, oh, what's happening here? And then we're taught to be afraid. We're taught that the world isn't safe. And so, since that's what we believe, that's what we see, and we step into this system that's already there. And we're seeing this continue to evolve in the world today with what's happening in Russia. I was in tears this morning watching The View. I can't help it. Those women just pull me in. Sometimes I have to turn it off if they're arguing too much. But other times, it is the divine feminine at work within what is still very much infected by the old patriarchal me against the world energy. So it's wonderful to watch the women trying to navigate as we move into this new space, into this divine feminine. What we're seeing, as Jane Fonda described it, is the final death throes of that old patriarchal system, which is about control over, which is about, well, it's the Me Too movement, it's the Black Lives Matter, it's the confrontation that if we want to move to the next level, we have to let go of the pecking order. And that's been a lot of my work, looking at how so much of our ego is dependent on deciding where we fit within the pecking order. It's all about worth. How worthy are you? And of course, it's a false premise, because we're all divine aspects of that source. So we could simply say we're all God, as the earthworm is, as the birds are, as the ocean is God, as the worst person you can think of in our ego point of view is an aspect of God coming into this human experience for the experience. But it's more than that. My belief as we move into this divine empowered feminine, which is what our soul singing is about, learning to listen within and get in the flow of what's already happening, the support that's all around us, and then activating our authentic compassion and connection so that we can, if you're on this earth, you have an investment in it. Although if you're like me, there are some days that you think, boy, it'd be better just to go back into my dream world or go up into the ethers and not have to worry about some of the struggles that are part of our human experience. What I want to share is those struggles are so much of our own making because we've divorced ourselves from the natural flow. The animals are not in anxiety 90% of their time. They're not constantly in fight flight. We're in fight flight a lot of the time. That free floating anxiety, as my therapist used to call it. And it's of our own making. If there was a saber-toothed tiger about to get us, or for crossing the street and a bus is almost to hit us, that's when fight flight is necessary. And the truth about actual fight flight is it doesn't include the thinking mind. We see it, we feel the energy, and we move. It's afterwards that we go, oh, that almost happened. That was scary. And that breath afterwards is meant to bring us back into balance. But because this intellect grew, and we can say, well, if that happened today, well, then it might happen tomorrow. How do I keep it from happening? So we're constantly rehashing the past as a projection into how to not make those things happen in the future. The problem is, whatever we're focusing on increases. It's like we're putting on those lenses, terrible things that we don't want to happen. That's what we're projecting into the future. And that's why the ego will often say, why is this happening again and again and again? So let me get back to my notes so we can stay conceptual, yin yang, masculine. All right. The power of the throat chakra. So I've put some stuff out there. I've shared about where we're moving into this divine feminine. So much of that energy that I'm feeling, and I've been feeling it for the past 4 or 5 years, is that the throat chakra is opening as a communication center. So let's go into a process right now. I'm checking the time. Good. It's time for a process. So what we're doing is we're accessing the power of the throat to connect with this powerful, what do I call it? It's a communication portal that's right in from the sinuses. So let's just take a breath and hum. Notice where you feel the hum. It's in here in the cheeks. It's in from the bridge of the nose. It kind of floats above that uvula, that little dangly thing at the back of your throat. I want you to think of that dangly thing at the back of your throat as a free hanging part of you that is constantly allowing gravity to gather energies in from the sinuses and gently point them or draw them down towards the throat. It helps us, it's there according to science, so that we can feel anything that's moving into our breath passage, and so the throat can close. But it's more than that. At least that's what I've discovered in some of the meditations and the deeper experiences that I've been having. Once again, let's take a deep breath and just make an open ah sound. That ah sound, if I could actually open my mouth and you could see my uvula back there, it lifts. That's why when the doctor says, open your mouth and say, ah, he wants to look at your throat. So he wants that natural response of that lift to happen. That lift is lifting that soft palate in the back of the throat up, allowing that dangling thing to connect with what I call that energetic communication center that is there to connect the higher chakras, third eye, crown, and open up a portal so that divine energy can flow in from our crown or our soul star chakra, which is where our divine guidance sits above our head. What you would call our guardian angels, the ancestors that still have an investment in this earth experience through you. Your ancestors are there at your calling. They're also in your DNA. But that portal, that communication center, has the ability, especially now that we've moved into this new age, which started officially. We started to move towards it very powerfully in 1987. That harmonic convergence. Anyone who remembers that, and then 2012, all the stuff we heard about 2012 about the world's going to come to an end. Well, it did. The patriarchal, male dominated power over me against the world, that karmic cycle came to an end. Doesn't look like it, I know, from a lot of things, all the craziness, but that's the old structures falling apart. The inner stuff is already there inside the chrysalis and it's beginning to blossom. That's what I was going to talk about when I talked about the view, is with what's going on in Russia, what we're seeing, which is similar with the police brutality that we saw towards the Black community, how that's been going on forever, but suddenly everyone's noticing how horrible it is and how wrong it is, and that it's not okay. Same with the Me Too movement. People are recognizing on a deeper level how things have been so out of balance. And so this is what's happening, and it's going to take some time. It's going to take some things falling apart. That's how we evolve. That's how consciousness that it evolves helps to clear the old. It also has to do with the pandemic. That's Mother Nature coming in as well, helping us come together in a crisis. We're seeing the same thing with Russia. The world is coming together saying, no, we don't want this anymore. And it brings tears to my eyes. So much of what's been going on lately brings tears to my eyes, and they're healing tears. So it's trusting that. All right. Back to this process. Let me take a sip. So what we're going to do now in this process, we're going to allow that area in from the sinuses above that where you feel that lift in there, that opening. It's a space inside your head that incorporates that actual physical part of you that's there, but it's an energetic. I see it as kind of a round ball that kind of comes to a point and points right down in towards the uvula. So that's where I see it. But you may experience it differently because these are energetic parts of us that we're talking about. And so they're not necessarily anchored in one place, but they're there, they're present, and they're active. And they're really activating more and more. And that's what this soul singing process is about. It's about using our conscious focus, this third eye, to focus on what's already there. And the focus itself is shining a light on it. And that light brings it into life. So that's what's happening. So we're going to use the third eye, our focusing element, to focus on that inner space and feel its connection to the throat chakra. And then we're going to do some simple humming. That's all. Very simple. Just so you can start to feel this connection there. What I want to talk about with the throat chakra before we go into it is this miraculous chakra. Because no other chakra in this seven system, our root, our sacral center, our solar plexus, our heart, our third eye, or our crown, no other chakra has the ability to make physical sound, to affect the physical world the way the throat chakra does. We actually make a vibration that's physical, but it's also subtle. When I say it's physical, it's not actually solid substance, but it affects solid substance. It has the ability to bring solid substance into harmony with the non-solid, with the vibrational. And that's what this soul singing is about. It's learning to really honor and allow us to access that throat chakra, to really begin to get a conscious experience of the energetic connections that we have. So now we can close our eyes, but with your eyes open, once again, take some slow breaths, acknowledging where we are in our space, acknowledging that what we're breathing in is this substance that flows around the entire world. It's connected with the clouds and the ocean and the trees and everything. So each breath, we're affirming that I'm more than just this body. This body is a point of reference, but I'm actually in conversation, in communion with all of life and the entire Mother Earth. And that this body is really more of Mother Earth and this evolving system here than it is of me, of my eternal, infinite self. The gift is, as the consciousness comes in, it does create this body. Mom and dad create the portal at conception, but then, particularly after birth, our consciousness steps in and begins drawing the energies together so that it can create this unique individual that helps us experience and grow. So now close your eyes, sinking into this body garden, as I like to call it. And notice as you feel the breath flowing in and out of the nostrils, that already, just by focusing on the breath and the experience of it, the felt aspect of that breath gives you an awareness of that eye center, that communication center. Breathing in and out, just feeling yourself present there. I want you to open your inner eyes. The outer eyes stay closed, but you're opening your inner eyes, inviting that third eye, that focusing element, to be open and aware of that space right in there, above the soft palate, right there in the sinus area. Now open your inner ears and feel that communication portal now connecting your outer physical eyes with your inner energetic eyes, right there at that portal. Listening with your inner ears as well as your outer ears, right there at that portal. Can you feel and hear the breath moving in and out? Now feel in that same space your sense of smell coming together. That's probably the easiest, because that is the space where we smell, where we draw in the breath. And that's why aromatherapy is so potent and powerful, because it brings your awareness to that center. It connects the third eye. And remember, your crown chakra is always present with what you're focusing on. So the third eye and the crown are intimately connected. So notice, just as I mentioned the crown chakra, can you feel it suddenly coming into play? Now allow your sense of taste to connect into that space, into that communication center. Can you feel the breath encouraging that? So all this that you're noticing or that you're opening to is already always happening, but what's been the missing link is our conscious focus, our intellect, which has been so outwardly focused, it's lost touch of what's going on within. And as you focus on the sense of smell and the sense of taste, notice the connection between the tongue, the breath, and the throat. So the power of this portal, this communication center, right in the sinus area, is that when we access it through the focus and the flow of the breath, we start to feel a natural, easy, flowing connectedness through the face and all the physical senses, down into the throat and opening into the heart. And you can simply now let the experience of that flowing breath be your focus. Just notice what you're feeling as that breath flows in and out. So can you notice through that focus that your sense of hearing is also present? Sense of listening to that breath and whatever sensations are present. And you'll be aware that your inner eyes are looking. So feel your third eye connecting with your physical eyes and its innate connection with the breath. I call the breath our universal sensing organ. It's always feeling and reading life, even if the mental body, the intellect, is totally focused elsewhere. Now take a deep breath and just simply, gently hum, letting yourself stay with the focused vibration. And as the tone disappears, just notice the quality that's present within this arena that we've been focusing on. Now we're going to let it go. Just let yourself become aware of your body sitting in the room you're in. Just noticing how easy it is to once again allow your focus rather than in that one pinpoint in the body for it just to float into the room around you. Noticing the chair you're sitting in. Notice if there's any other sensations in the body, if you need to readjust and get comfortable again. And just give the eyelids a suggestion that as they're ready, they will gently float open. So before the class started, I drew a crystal, and we're going to be doing this throughout the 7 weeks of the soul singing. We will be drawing one crystal for each week, each chakra that we work through, as the crystal that's going to help access the divine crystalline and mineral kingdoms to come in and support us. And even if the crystal doesn't seem like it's consistent with the chakra that we're working on, trust that it is, because a big part of what I've been experiencing that sort of drew me to be teaching now this voice of the heart is that what's happening now is the chakras are beginning to communicate in a way that they never have before, because they're inviting in the intellect. They're inviting in the part of us that's been so outwardly focused trying to figure life out. It's now the time that we're moving into this divine empowered feminine to reconnect that intellect with the chakras. And as we do, our ego selves are going to begin to melt away, because that illusion of separateness is an illusion. And as consciousness awakens, which I believe it can't help but happen, we're moving forward, we're evolving. That's part of the beautiful gift of this experience that we're in well, not just this planet, in this whole physical universe. Recognizing also that the boundaries that we put between physical and spiritual and mental and emotional, they're all very fluid, much more fluid than we've allowed ourselves to see, because we kind of jumped up into the head to try to figure things out. We're seeing and experiencing just a limited view. And it's baby steps forward. Part of the power of the soul singing class is it's going to, and it happened in the first class that I taught, people got triggered and there was a lot of stuff that came up. As we invite a reconnection with the chakra system, and this is why we jumped up into the head, the emotional body got too scary when we could begin to project into the future and understand some of the horrible things that could happen, and that we had an ability to participate in the creation. So it's like, how do we avoid the bad things? So we jumped up into our head and we stopped listening to this energy down here, which really is meant to keep us safe. It's how we read the world. Truth is, it's still working, and it's working to continue to keep a lot of us safe. It's that voice that said, oh, this isn't right for me, or no, I need to take this turn today rather than the other one. We don't know how often that inner intuitive or instinctual or even unconscious guidance is helping us avoid disaster, but I guarantee it's working. Just drive around any busy city, and you have to admit that the fact that there are as few accidents and mishaps as they are proves that we're all tuned in on an unconscious energetic level that the intellect doesn't really understand. And that's what's happening now. And this soul singing course is really my desire to help us move into that more secure, more trustworthy, more true understanding of who we are. And more than understanding, because that's conceptual, the experience of that. So that's the reason we jumped up into the head. We got afraid of what was down here. And because that stuff doesn't disappear through the traumas, through life that happens, but when life happens and doesn't go the way we want it to, what's happened is it's built up, it's strengthened these mental stories about maybe I don't belong here, or there's something wrong out there, or there's something wrong in here. We've used it to create all these stories that are not only not true of what's really going on here, they've hampered us, but they did give us a sense of self, our idea. Most of us think who we are is what we believe, and we will fight our beliefs to the end to prove that we're okay. Truth is, we're all already okay, and we're not our thoughts. We're not our feelings. We're, as I said before, eternal, infinite aspects of consciousness that came here for this human experience, for the experience, knowing that it would expand who we are, and particularly in this human experience, so we could really help compassion, forgiveness, and unconditional love to blossom, because that's I would say, the soul of who we are in our humanity. And as I say, when I use the word humanity, it includes all the, because if you're an animal lover, you know that animals have the ability to access that love and compassion very often much more than human beings do, which have a tendency to really push your buttons. So anyway, let me share something this was in one of my newsletters recently, but I want to share it because it also really talks about what we're doing in the soul singing class. We're bringing together these powerful aspects of our human experience with a conscious focus to help us in this awakening and this evolvement that's happening. 7 chakras in the human body, 7 notes on the scale, 7 colors in the rainbow. So we're going back to Atlantis, and we're looking at what happened after Atlantis fell, and these different tribes and stuff that begin to continue to evolve after that huge learning experience of Atlantis. The great mass of surviving inhabitants of Atlantis lived side by side in various populations, each with a chakra system of 7 energy centers, reflecting the sound system of 7 notes on the scale and 7 colors in the spectrum of the rainbow, which creates white light. So this really affirms the information I've been getting from my guides, particularly Kuan Yin and Metatron, that the 2 energies I feel that really create that physical world out there are light and sound, both vibrational energies, although they say light also can move in particles as well as waves. But these waves of energies, they come together in a harmonious relationship or a pattern to create all of the physical worlds. And that's why we're going to be using the crystals along with the toning as we move through this soul singing process, because those 2 energies coming together have the powerful ability to evolve us, to call in the intellect and reconnect it to the energetic flow that's happening. A key aspect of the awakening crystalline age is what we're moving into, is a resounding, undeniable call to the crystalline and mineral kingdoms of the earth to increase the flow of energy radiating from the core of Mother Earth. Transformation is at hand, and it's talking about the divine relationship of light / crystals and sound. Because my definition or understanding of the crystals, having worked with them pretty extensively for the last 10, 15 years, is that they are the solidification of that pure white light, downloaded into the color spectrum. I'll hold up right here. Here's our rose quartz. So you can see, it's translucent, and yet it holds that beautiful pink color, which really is the heart color. And then here's a obsidian. If you hold it up to a bright light, you really can't see it here. It has to be the sunlight. It actually has a beautiful shimmering green color in it. So it actually holds the green of the heart as well, but it looks black. But that blackness is the density of that white light held here. If you listen to one of the videos that I sent out in a couple of newsletters in the past, and it's a YouTube video, you can look it up. It's just Eben Alexander, Eben Alexander. He's the neurosurgeon that had this powerful near-death experience. He talked about, as he moved through these different layers back to what he calls the core, he says he experienced the core, which he felt was the most pure aspect of what we might call the God source, or that pure source. He called it this inky blackness, where he felt that pure sense of unconditional love and compassion. I feel that when I look at my little obsidian egg, and I often will meditate with it. And we're going to use this today to help activate the purple flame, which we're going to get to shortly. But first, I want to share some of this other information because it's just helpful to open up and prepare your mind for what we're going to be experiencing, maybe in more of a microcosmic way rather than the macrocosmic, as we move through the soul singing, because the soul singing course is really about your individual evolution within the bigger picture. Because I think most of the people who've been on a spiritual journey recognize that the most potent way we can affect the outer, we can help evolve the consciousness on this planet, is to start individually, to look at our own personal lives, how we show up day to day in relationship to the self first, with compassion, love, making space, being curious and interested as to what's going on in here. And then our most immediate relationships, our Saturn V, our relationships to money, career, relationship itself, home, health, all those five. And we go into that much deeper when we get to the presence process, which happens, right after the soul singing. So if you're really into evolving in this year of 2020, you can certainly sign up for that. And I've got some special offers that I'll share before we end the class today. But one thing that was true in the time of Atlantis that is still true today, the crystalline energy, and indeed the entire mineral kingdom, relates to humanity through both physical and etheric means. The realms of the crystalline minerals and humanity are intricately related, so that one is never out of contact or subtle communication with the other. Our physical human bodies contain crystalline particles and a rich array of minerals that are unique to the earth. That means the harmonic ratios of minerals and crystalline particles that are in both our physical and etheric bodies are maintained in sync with those of Earth. Thus, the resulting frequency ratio of the Earth and humanity are held in balance for the well-being and support of humanity, individually and en masse. And what's happening now, and what we're going to be doing through the soul singing course, is actively calling forth that energy from Mother Earth, because it's increasing. We're in a new relationship to the whole universe. We've gone through a number of these astronomical portals recently, where different planets and different galaxies even have been lining up and affecting the energy here on Earth, calling forth what the Mayan calendars and a number of the calendars of the past, ancient calendars, talked about, this shift that was happening now. It was based on what they understood about the cosmos. So it's happening. And we can see it with what's going on in the world out there, and we can feel it. Let me read about what this crystal says. So this is the crystal I drew this morning, and it's not black onyx, is not a black obsidian, but it's very similar. It's also a volcanic stone. It's igneous. It comes from the fire, and it has to do with grounded self-awareness. So what it brought up for me just intuitively was our connection with Mother Earth, and that a self awareness, as long as we're here in the body, is the awareness that we're participating in the evolution of Mother Earth because our bodies are of the earth. I think of my physical body, this little me, Carsten person sitting here, as a Carsten aspect or son of Mother Earth, that is Mother Earth herself calling in that divine consciousness through my ancestral past. So it's been happening since the beginning of Mother Earth as I've been evolving through parents, grandparents, great great grandparents, all the way back into that first spark of life in the ocean. And so my body is Mother Earth, and each breath is Mother Earth calling in consciousness to be present in this creation. So the information that came up, it's interesting because I didn't choose to draw this for the the intro to the soul singing class, but just as, and I've got to use this because my eyes don't quite focus the way they did. Black onyx grounded self-awareness. Raise me from the earth, and united we will anchor your physical body. Enter my calm self-awareness and allow my supporting touch to lift you through the physical veil to a new light. And so that's just what we're doing. It's what we did already with feeling that energy and feeling the connection. We're starting to recognize these aspects of us that are already present and just waiting for our support. Together, we are stimulating a pathway of the intuitive, activating your real voice and sound, your cosmic signature. Guiding you I am. As you flow with the rivers of life, detach from all that seems complex, stressful, or lacking in harmony. Let it run its course, for without the attachment of the conscious illusioned self, all is heaven. So that's the other thing that happens. And it's step by step, it's moment by moment. The ego part of us that was helpful for a long time, it gave us the illusion of safety. It's melting away, and that can feel scary. And so it's trusting that nothing is going to happen more quickly than you're able to integrate. And the work that we're doing here, the work that I share, the work that I've been doing for the past 10 or 15 years, it all blossoms out of my desire to feel safer, to deal with all the stuff that's coming up, because the ego is really no longer the best vehicle to evolve anymore. I think it was helpful for a long time. It helped that frontal lobe to grow so we could figure things out. But now that we know that we're not separate, that it's all energy, something different is blossoming. Open your eyes of light in mine and step through the gates of your future. So that's, to me, it's just totally affirming what we just did in that process, looking within and beginning to notice these different parts of us that are connected with the flowing breath. In other words, the flowing, evolving life that's happening in the cosmos, and allowing us to really begin to understand and access these human bodies as vehicles of conscious evolution. For you and only you hold the key to your creation. What you perceive in the world is your only limitations. So that's what's happening as and it's not that we have to worry about figuring out what our error beliefs are and removing them. We start to focus on what's going in, become aware of the flow, and then the old error thinking, it just melts away. It may at times feel like it's confronting you because we do start to see a lot of our old ego patterns and how we've been so invested in needing to prove ourselves into a false sense of self-worth. How many likes do I have out there? For me, how many people are signing up for my programs? But it's really being in that place where you're much less vulnerable to those big ups and downs when the world doesn't go the way you think it should, because really what we're learning to do through this soul singing and then the presence process afterwards is to get in the flow and to start look at what if the world is always working in our favor, because it is a projection of my soul energy and my creation. It's always telling us who we are and inviting us to move to the next level when we stay open. Let me see if there's anything else. Uh, I guess not. Let me share. Let me share about my offer, and then we're going to do the. We're going to end with the purple flame activation. And I don't see any. No questions. So if there are any questions about what I've talked about so far, and you have access to the chat, it looks like it should be open. Um, Feel free to write in the questions. Um, but the offer, if you register for the soul singing today, or before the end of the day, you will get a free private life path guidance session. So it'll be you'll be able to work with me individually for an hour. We'll draw cards related on your birth path and sort of where we're going. We'll look at your Saturn V, money, career, relationships, health, living situation, where you are in relationship to all those. And I think the most powerful thing is you'll be getting a sound bath, and I'll also call in my guides and see whatever else is going on. I'll do a guided process for you to tune in chakra wise to see what's going on in there and what kind of information or guidance you're getting from your own chakras, or what we need to kind of bring that into balance. And also we'll be able to have a conversation. The gift of working one-on-one with people, particularly in conjunction with the chakras and the life path guidance process, is that I get to hear what's going on with you. And a big part of it, I have to say, almost always, is allowing you to hear from the outside uh, that you're already. Now, that's the other thing I wrote right at the top of my notes. We're already where we think we want to go. We just don't realize it. And that's why looking within through this soul singing process allows us to remember, in the definition of that word, to reconnect with that part of us that's already connected to the soul, eternal, infinite part of us. Register for soul singing and the presence process, and you get 2 private 60-minute life path guidance sessions, which could also be used together into 1 2-hour session where we could do some deep work, maybe even open up into some past life memories. And that's the other thing I'm offering. It's not part of the special offer today. But you know what? I'm going to make it part of the special offer today. If anyone's interested, because I know I've gotten a lot of feedback since I put out my newsletter that was about and that talked about my past life experience, and I've been working with clients since the first of the year on the past life process. It's recently I made a whole new page on my website called Past Life Regression. So check it out. It's a 3-day, 6-hour process. And if that looks interesting to you and you want to sign up for that, feel free to sign up for that, and I will offer you soul singing or the presence process for free. So you get the 6 hours of past life regression. It's done 2 hours a day in 3 consecutive days, because that helps you really see a number of different past lives, and sometimes future lives come through as well. And you start to recognize patterns that have been present for a while, and it really makes it so much easier for you to, number one, forgive yourself for them, and then let them go. Other thing that happens is we begin to come into harmony with the people we're in relationship now, because very often those same people, we see some of the past experiences we have, and we come into an understanding of where some of the angst comes from, and in the understanding it begins to melt away. So yeah, and the other option would be if you're interested in both soul singing and presence process, half price for each, which would basically be the same as you get one for free and pay full price for the other. So those are my offers. And I'm glad to share that if you know someone who's not on the call today and they're interested, and I think I will probably extend that for a couple of days. So it's probably not going to expire tonight. There we go. All right. So get comfortable. We're going to move into our Saint-Germain purple flame activation. This is one of my favorite processes, number one, because that's what's blossoming on the planet now. That energy of compassion, which is keyed in so powerfully to forgiveness, because so much of us, based on that old ego connection and all the tit for tat, we're always measuring ourselves. Are we being treated fairly? Are they giving us more than we're getting? It has to do with individuals. It has to do with governments. It has to do with all that stuff. And forgiveness is really a recognition that nothing went wrong, that everyone was doing the best they could with the information they have, and we're all just in this process of evolution, of evolving consciously. But the power of activating this purple flame in the heart is that it gives us a conscious awareness that it's there. And that's really the gift of this powerful evolutionary period we're in now, the divine feminine, is that it's the awareness of being rather than doing, when we can make space for ourselves, let go of that ego thing that never feels complete and always thinks, when I get this happens, when this happens, when I finally clear this one personality problem that's always been there, then I'm going to be okay. It allows you to recognize, I'm already okay. Everything's already okay. So the way the purple flame gets activated is the energy that we're working with. We're actually opening or harmonizing these energetic portals that exist at the joints of the body: ankles, knees, hips, wrists, elbows, shoulders. And then the 13th portal that we're awakening or opening includes the entire spinal column, but it opens between the shoulder blades into the heart chakra. So I'm going to start on a low note and I'm going to go up in increments. With each increment, we're just simply, it's almost like, I visualize it as like there's an energetic string that's kind of blocking these different areas. And the tone, I'm pulling that string out so that energy is free to flow up and in, and then that energy opens into what we will visualize as a white rosebud in the center of the heart. And as the final sustained part of the tone continues, you're going to visualize that white rose opening, and in the center of it, a gentle purple or violet flame. It's the violet flame of Saint-Germain, which also connects with the crystal of amethyst. And the other thing that I want to just plant in your brain today is, we've activated through that opening process we did, just feeling the connection between these higher chakras and the throat and that energetic communication center there in the face. We've opened up a potent ability to listen. And because we've connected our energetic senses, the chakra system, though we didn't go deep low, doesn't matter, because the heart and these higher senses, these lower chakras, are already working quite well. If you're awake, aware, walking around, your body's working, then you're in balance with the flow. So it's really these upper ones we want to connect, and the ability to listen. But because we've activated our physical senses in connection with our energetic senses, our chakra system, as you're moving through your week, pay attention, stop, listen, feel the energy, be aware. The more you can stop and access the breath as your most potent sensing organ, because it brings all the other organs into life. Think of the breath, when you blow on coals of a fire, everything gets hotter, it brightens up. Can you feel the same thing happening? Or did you feel the same thing happening as we were breathing into that process? The breath, when we add the focus to it and begin to listen, look, smell, taste, feel within, the breath activates. Something new happens. And we all do it. You've noticed yourself doing it, I'm sure, many times when you're not sure what's going on. Stop and look around. We almost always draw in the breath. The important thing to add to that is to recognize how potent the exhale is. Because the inhale is kind of breathing in and listening to what's there. The exhale is sending out your feelers. It's sending out your consciousness. It's also, with it, sending out the power of your experience, of who you are, of what you're sharing with the world. We are already, with each breath, creating it all. What we're now adding is the understanding and recognition of that. And that's what's so powerfully going to begin to help move us consciously, individual by individual, into this new age, this divine feminine. So, with that said, close your eyes. We're just going to take some slow breaths to help you get present. Remember, ankles, knees, hips, wrists, elbows, shoulders, and then the final sustain note is the entire spinal column, which opens up between the shoulder blades, activating that white rosebud in the heart, which slowly opens, revealing that Saint-Germain purple or violet flame. Now, as you visualize that purple flame, allow yourself to feel the energetic flow. As a purple flame, it's not going to be the same as a regular flame, so it's not necessarily heat, but there's that purple, that compassion, that divine energy that's floating up through the throat chakra, through the third eye and the crown chakra. It's floating up and it's accessing the soul star chakra that sits above your head. Think of that. I like to visualize it as a great big magnifying glass, that same shape. And it's able to draw or congeal all the energy of the universe into your specific needs or what you're calling forth for your own evolution. And within that that magnifying glass or that energetic space, I place my angels, my ancestors, all those, and then they don't really sit there, but I'm just able to access them or call to them from there. And what I want you to visualize, we're going to do a little bit of a sound bath now in activation of that purple flame, really to help you connect or open to the flow of your higher energies. So just be open and allow the vibration to do what it's going to do. Thank you all for joining me, whether you joined me live today or whether you're listening to this later. Just give yourself a moment after the video ends, if it feels comfortable or if it feels nourishing, just to sit in this energy. And the reason I shared that sound bath at the end, especially with the purple flame opening first, uh, is I wanted to leave those, whether you're going to sign up for the course or not. uh, I wanted to share it as just an example of how you can practice opening your own voice of the heart, your own ability to soul sing. It's by playing, activating the throat chakra, noticing where the vibration goes. It's not about making a pretty sound, it's about playing. It's really about accessing that creative, joyful inner child in relationship to your throat chakra and an understanding, a trust, or even if you don't buy into it totally, just pretending that what if this throat chakra really had the power to introduce me to the energy that's flowing, and this chakra system. We'll be going into it much deeper in during our 7-week intensive. And if anyone has questions, anyone uh, wants to connect, I'm glad for anyone at any time to do a free 20-minute consultation just to find out what's happening with you and how what I offer might be of benefit to your journey moving forward. Um, yeah, and just sending love and light and blessings. And I look forward to what's next. Sending blessings, and thank you all for honoring me with your time and your attention. The most powerful gifts we can give to anyone. And with that said, the other thing that's blossoming as we move beyond the ego is our error thinking, our error lack understanding or recognition of our relationship to time. Time is infinite, and we have infinite time. And if we don't get it all done in this lifetime, which we can't possibly, given all the stuff that our imagination says could be possible, we have infinite other possibilities. And I believe this is an affirmation I got from some of my guides, that I can come back and live this lifetime again and try doing it differently. As a matter of fact, there's beliefs out there of parallel realities that every time you have a decision to make, regardless of what decision you decide to make, there's a part of you that actually goes off in that other direction to have that experience. And we can access all of that. So there's no rush. When you feel that false energy of rush, of not enough around time, that's the time to stop, take a breath, and just give yourself that space in that moment. Because that action and giving yourself that space when the universe seems to be saying the last thing you have time to do is to stop and breathe, if you do that, you're honoring yourself as the power within your own world. All right. Love you guys, sending love and blessings, and have a beautiful day. And I look forward to seeing some of you during our soul singing course. It starts next week at this same time, same space. Okay, I'm pushing end stream now. Bye bye.